Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of ECH Postgame Live after a fun 6-4 win over the Buffalo Sabres. Kraken complete the series sweep over Buffalo. Faced them about a week and a half ago and then faced them again tonight. Wins in both games, putting up 6 goals in both games for the Kraken. And this was just it was a fun game. It was far from a banner effort, I feel like, from the Kraken. A little sloppy, but you know what? You got to play fun games, given how the season has gone. And I'm ready to just lean into that at this point. And I see a lot of people in chat are as well. 10 total goals in this one, just plenty of scoring to keep up with here. And of course, before I dive into chat, got to thank our sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall, right up there. Awesome place to watch a Kraken game. I'm sure 6 times the Kraken goal light went off at Queen Anne Beer Hall while watching this one. Gotta try the food also. I've been craving one of those pretzels. I gotta get down there. Maybe after the game. There's actually plenty of time, right? It's 3:41. My sense of time is completely off, but there's plenty of the day left. If you went to the game, if you're watching this, on your walk out of the arena, go stop by Queen Anne Beer Hall. It's a good place to spend the rest of your evening. So jumping into chat here, and we'll start with a super chat from Light. Fun stat time. Since Jay Fresh dropped Chandler's card, he has 10 points in 12 games since being called the worst 5-on-5 forward by him. 6 points in 6 games. Kind of funny, not going to lie. I'm with you, Light. It is pretty funny. Chandler Stevenson, he is certainly producing on the scoreboard. Picks up another goal, 2 straight games to the goal for Chandler Stevenson. And you know what? He is producing. I can say that much for him. Dylan and I were looking up his numbers too. I think he's at 10 points in his last 10 games. Pretty good stretch there. Of course, one thing I also find kind of funny about that is given that I think 9 of the 10 are 5-on-5 points. So he's producing at even strength as well. It's not power play merchant time anymore. He's still only a +1 in that stretch, plus minus wise, which tells you he's been on the ice for a lot of goals against too. But you know what? When Chandler Stevenson's out there, stuff's happening. And that's fun, at least certainly on the side when he's putting in goals. So good little stretch here from Chandler Stevenson. I do think it has been his best stretch as a Kraken recently. And thank you there for the super chat, Light. So going up to the top of the chat, Chip with the Joey. And then Bryce, I like this one. Win or lose, I'm rooting for fun. And this game was fun. I think that's kind of where I'm at for the rest of this season, right? Wins, losses don't matter a ton with the Kraken kind of being out of the playoff picture, but you know what? At least root for fun, and we got a fun game in this one. And I've kind of tried to work through and process it mentally, and I think Dylan helped me out with that quite a bit, being up there on the press bridge, where this is one of those games that I just personally usually don't like, because it's the kind of effort the Kraken give where they're going to lose to 80% of teams in the NHL playing this way. But they're lucky that they're facing a team that's not one of those 80% that you can beat playing this way. But you know what? I've kind of learned to just accept it, have fun with how the game went, and that's where I'm at. I just got to mention that at the start, because I do think that is, anyway, that's how I see it. Super chat here from Kendall. Go Kraken. Also, my best friend is joining for ECH postgame for the first time. Hi, Emily. Thank you for the super chat there, Kendall. And hi, Emily. A little shout out to Emily. Hope you're enjoying your first edition of ECH postgame live. And again, love people spreading the word about us and getting more Kraken fans on board. That is just the best thing. So thank you so much for the super chat, Kendall, and for telling Emily about it. And I love people in the chat saying hi, Emily there. We got one from Mason. So everybody welcome Emily to ECH postgame live. And all right, going back into chat, and we got B with the Joey. So I think it's worth talking about here. Joey Decord, another fantastic game in this one. And I know he gives up 4 goals in this, but it could have been a lot worse for the Kraken. This is one of those where I felt like for long stretches, the Kraken were being outplayed by Buffalo. Second game in a row, they allowed a shorthanded breakaway. The Sabres really had their chances in this one, and Joey Decord stood tall as he has been. This is just more Vezina level goaltending from Joey Decord. And it's getting to the point where he is, again, consistently winning them games that they would otherwise lose. And I count this game as one of them. I count the LA game, last game, as one of them, where they get outshot 17-1 in the third period. And I think most other goalies in net probably allow at least one goal on those 17 shots against LA. But you know what? Joey Daccord has been solid. He's been shutting the door. I've been meaning to look up. I want to see on Natural Stat Trick if this was a quality start for Joey, how many expected goals the Buffalo Sabres had in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, just because Buffalo had a lot of really good chances. Let's see. They had Buffalo with 3.97 expected goals. So unfortunately, not a quality start for Joey by the slimmest of margins, but still excellent game for him. I think the eye test shows just how well Joey played. He was dialed in all night and was a big reason, maybe the biggest reason the Kraken win this game. So glad everyone's appreciating Joey, even with the 4 goals against. Chip, was definitely fortuitous having Levi in net. Poor guy's got a not so great save percentage in his 9 games now. Yeah, Levi's numbers were pretty brutal this season heading into this one. I think goaltending was kind of a factor both ways. It's tough. He's a smaller goalie. We saw it on like the Matty Beniers goal on the power play where he just doesn't take up that much net. He can reach all the way out to one side and know where the puck is going, and there's still room inside the post there to sneak it in like Matty Beniers did. So yeah, Devin Levi, not the best game for him. Kraken running into a goalie who's not so good, but you know what? You can only face the team in front of you, and they did to a team like the Sabres what you should do, by scoring 6 goals. So you're right there, Chip. Jeremy, what exciting game. Jenna, this was hella fun. Christian with the Disco Dan's party, woo. And by the way, speaking of Disco Dan, Dylan is probably hearing from him right now as he's down there talking to the players and to Dan Bilesma. And so he's going to join us in a little bit, and we'll get the takeaways from everybody after the game, especially for, newer to ECH post game live that just want to let you know that's coming. Dylan's going to join us in a little bit, hopefully lit a little bit better, because I remembered to bring my own webcam this time. So we've got that all sorted out. So let's see. Kendall, that was a fun one. Sarah, good game. Seems like a lot of people enjoyed watching this one. Christian, defense was so-so, but are they starting to click? Yeah, the defense certainly could have been better for the Kraken in this one, but I do think we are starting to see more chemistry, just working the puck up the ice and just being a little more connected. Adam Larson talked about it a little bit in his post-game interview with Piper Shaw after being selected as one of the stars. I think it was the first star, talking about how they're just kind of playing a little bit more connected and they're finding each other a little bit more. And I think we are starting to see that. It helps when you're facing the Sabres and you get a little bit more extra time and space to do that, but I think we are starting to see that. Terrible Lotus, I enjoyed the variety of goal scorers today. Yeah, it was nice seeing so many different guys getting on the board, especially after the hat trick. Jaden Schwartz really doing the heavy lifting on the goal scoring last game. And just a little more variety here. I think that's one of the bigger takeaways from this game too, is just that you do get that depth scoring. You have a lot of different guys contributing goals for the Kraken in this one, and it's something that we've kind of needed to see more of this season. Hopefully that gets a lot of guys' confidence going. Rebecca, we play the Sabres twice every week, right? Right? Yeah, if by week you mean year, then correct. But yeah, unfortunately, the Kraken can't play the Sabres every game. Unfortunately, for every team in the league, they can't play the Sabres every game. I'm sorry, I won't linger on it, but they're just so bad. They are so bad. I'm convinced they could snatch defeat from the jaws of victory against anybody. I don't know that I've ever seen a coach get so little out of that much talent, because they have talented players. They really do. Like, there's some real talent on that team, but they cannot play together. They cannot play connected. Effort issues seem like they're all over the place. They can't get goaltending. I mean, Luukkonen's good, but he's hurt. I don't know. They're not a good team. Julia was rooting so hard for a goal at the end. Oh, for a Joel at the end there. Yeah, I was too. And, up in the press box, we can't cheer. We can't root for things. We've got to be impartial. So many times, I think there were 3 or 4 dump-ins where the puck was dumped in with the empty net and it just didn't bounce the right way for Joey to make a play on it. And I'll be honest, I was like, come on. Because I think we all want to see a goalie goal, and there were a few opportunities there for Joey. He wants one, but have to wait for another game. But I was feeling it there too, Julia. Feel bad for Levi because I like him when we aren't playing him, but wahoo, so many Kraken goals is so fun. Definitely. And I do like Devin Levi. I mean, I like the smaller goalies too. He's fun to watch, but rough one for him tonight. Jeremy Stevenson, they wrote me off, but I ain't right back. Josh pointing out Shane Wright's ice time at 11:16. Yeah, that's not great, as B's pointing out here too. But you know what? I say it. I still think that line played well. I think it's not for poor play why he's not playing a lot. Let me go look at the line stats here on Money Puck, and yeah, they're pretty clearly the third line getting that deployment there. Well, actually, they did perform here on the expected goals chart here on Money Puck significantly worse. Well, Stevenson line actually had the best numbers, then the fourth line, and then the Bediers line only 24% of expected goals. That's a surprise there, because I thought, let's see. I mean, they weren't on the ice for any goals. They're on for one against. But I still like some moments from them. But yeah, probably not their strongest game. But yeah, I mean, always, I'm always in favor of more ice time for Shane Wright. And it seems like the team has been pretty clear about it, whether it's from things Dan Bilesma said, from things the Kraken Hockey Network has said, that their choice on that is not yet. They're waiting to give Shane more ice time later. They still want him to kind of take advantage of softer matchups right now. Super chat here from Schultz. No scoring from Kakko. Might have to trade him. Team looking pretty cohesive without Gord. Karche on the outside looking in. Hayden earning a spot. So yeah, I mean, nothing from Kakko today, but he's still been pretty fantastic. And I know that's the joke, of course, but they are looking pretty cohesive without Yanni Gord. I've been impressed by how well Mitchell Stevens has been able to step into that fourth line center spot. And I think really what it is, Dylan brought this up after last game, but when you do have a proper fourth line that is getting fourth line minutes, right? They're not playing a ton, whereas with Yanni Gord, they were going to play more. You are able to fill that ice time with better players further up your lineup, and we're seeing that different ice time distribution. Let's see, Stevens with 7 minutes, Hayden with a little under 6 in this one, Tanev with more, but I think, a lot of that is the PK as well. And so the fourth line looks surprisingly good. I do think Karche probably now on the outside looking in, like, he's been okay, but he hasn't had the best season. But I think obviously Brandon Tanev has the inside track on one of those two winger spots because of all he does on the penalty kill. I mean, it's Brandon Tanev. If you watch him play, you know why. And then John Hayden, I do think he's earning a spot. Of course, he scored a goal in this game, and it is just a classic John Hayden goal, cycling down low, and the way he battles to the net front, to the slot, to get in position where that puck finds him. Watching the play, it might look like, he's just in the right place at the right time. The puck just kind of finds him. It's lucky. Luck had nothing to do with that. He battles his way to that spot and earns that goal. And that's exactly how John Hayden plays. He's got that physical presence, and I love what he's brought to the lineup. And I think as long as he keeps doing this, keep him in. I like Ty Karche, but John Hayden is just simply bringing more right now. And yeah, Jeffrey asking, he's just scratched. So he is up at the press box. He's just scratched for these games, but for the time being, keep that fourth line together. I see no reason to change it. And I like what Hayden's doing. And on that, Kara asking, if Turbo gets traded, do you think Hayden has a permanent roster spot? I think if Tanev gets traded, which again, we're probably looking at close to the deadline, I think we might see Hayden, but it might be also time then to call up some of the younger Firebirds and kind of give them a cup of coffee. And so Hayden, he brings a certain toughness element. I think he is good to have in the lineup on certain nights, but if he's in the way of a young player getting an opportunity, they're probably not going to let him stay in the way. But I do think he'd certainly get more games. And again, I just love what he brings to that fourth line. So I think in the near term, but he might give way to some younger players if they want to give guys like Ryan Winterton maybe a spot. Let's see, going down into chat. And more on Hayden. Bryce, Hayden net front is contagious. Love the energy, brings the fourth line. Nice to see him rewarded with a goal. Exactly. Chip says, nice pin, RJ. Thank you, Chip. Appreciate that. I got the pin on here with the suit. Dylan and I decided to go with the suits today. You'll see Dylan's a little bit later. And I believe every game this season that we'd worn the suits, really both ones for me, the Kraken had lost. So I figured this one might be a good one just because I didn't think it was really feasible or possible that they could lose to this Buffalo Sabres team. So I figured this is the one to kind of break that streak. And sure enough, there it goes. But it's nice to wear the suit today. Oh, and of course the pin. By the way, if any of you ever see me in person at the games or whatever, I have my backpack with me. I have pins on me. So if you want one just like this, I've got extras. All you got to do is say hi, ask for a pin. I might even just offer you one probably, but just say hello and you can get one of the pins too. So if you ever see me around, let's see. Or if you're at a game and just like, if you want to meet up at intermission or something, I can find you and I can give you a pin too. So just let me know. Just DM me somewhere. You know how to get a hold of us. See. Christian, always a fan of the beam, but where's the background? Good question. See, I had to take the light rail today because it was an earlier game. It just made more sense to take the light rail, and it's kind of big to be lugging around on the light rail. It's much easier when I can put it in my car. So that's the quick answer. See. CJ would love to see them pry Nemes away from the Devils. That is the type of player they should be looking to acquire. So I think Francis, certainly by the example of the Capo Caco trade, be looking for more similar deals like that. And we'll of course talk about that on the Armchair GM stream a little bit later this month too. Viren, we all had 3 defenders with multi-point games, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think we all predicted that. That was definitely what we were all thinking. But you know what? It is nice to see the defense contributing a little bit more, especially some guys you don't necessarily expect, like Alexiak, Larson, contributing offensively. I think it does speak to the team just being overall a little bit more coherent, a little bit more connected when guys like the Alexiak goal, where he's able to just step up into the play. Shane Wright hits him with a perfect pass, and you can tell that they're all just reading off of each other really well to the point where you can feed that right into a spot where Alexiak can step into it and get everything on that shot. Jessica, I always like what Hades brings. Did you see that Sabre climbing up the glass to avoid his hit? Yeah, I did. That was pretty funny. They're scared of John Hayden when he's got him in the train tracks there. Rebecca, I'm committed to self-improvement through Chandler Stevenson appreciation today. Yeah, I think again, I want what's the meme that's always on the Discord? I want to believe. And I'll call it how I see it, but I want to believe. Egg Reviews music team is starting to cook a little bit. I'm hoping that we see kind of more of a continued effort next game against Washington. They do face a better opponent. I think the Kraken tend to get up for good opponents, so I'm hoping we kind of see the LA Kings game type energy against Washington because they're going to need it. But the more they can just kind of roll this thing together, the better. Because I do love seeing wins back to back. It's nice. Narina Mac asking, Joey needs to rest now. Who do they start in net next? I think it's got to be Joey next game. There's a couple days off in between now and the next Kraken game. And against an opponent as good as Washington, I don't think you can really risk rolling with Philip Grubauer. And I think that's kind of the situation with this team, right? They're going to ride Joey as much as they possibly can because he's the only goalie you can feel really confident about at this point, and he's playing so well. I do worry that they're going to overplay him again and maybe break him, and maybe there's going to be another injury. But, given where they're at in the standings this season, they kind of need, if they're going to get back in the hunt, a long extended win streak. You can't give up any points. Might as well roll with Joey. And if you do overwork him, if he gets hurt, whatever, you're kind of back in tank mode anyway. But look, I just think, especially this was his 7th straight game that he played in, coming directly off of an injury too. I do not think the team is worried at all about overplaying him. I think they're just going to run him into the ground. And Viren, they aren't going to get back in the hunt, though. I know they're not. But they're not ready to admit that yet. And hey, if they rattle off 10 straight wins, given how Vancouver and Calgary are collapsing, they would be back in the hunt. Like that's what it would take, is like a 10-game win streak from now, starting now. And so you might as well just play Joey for the 0.5% odds that happens. Like I'm with you, Viren. They're not getting back into the playoff hunt, but that's the kind of thing that you would need. And I think that's still the mindset they have, is they are still going for it, even if, the numbers suggest that they're not going to get there. I was honestly kind of surprised that they didn't play Gruby for today, though, to keep Joey rested for the Caps game, just because it's this pointing out the 7th game in a row, even if it's only his 5th start in a row. Exactly. And I thought there might be a chance they'd play Grubauer, but I think I'm guessing they thought what ended up being, I believe, the truth is that I think with Grubauer in net, you lose this game. I think Joey was the difference in this one. And with all the Sabres chances and everything, you needed a Joey Decord at the top of his game to give you any kind of a chance in this one. And so they went with the goalie who gave him a chance to win. He's healthy. He was good to go. So I think that's just kind of where the team is at this point. Don't know that I fully agree with it from a long-term perspective, but I think that's kind of where everybody's at. And then, yeah, Sam saying he thinks that, Crew's not starting again until there's a back-to-back or Joey falls off. Kind of agree with that at this point. Let's see. Milo just saying it'd be such a Sabres thing if they got a goalie goal scored on them in consecutive games. Sorry, Joey, maybe next time. Oh man, was that actually the last Sabres game when the Nedeljkovic goal happened? I'm looking this up. Not to doubt you, Milo. I'm sure you're right on this, but that would really be something. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it was the last Sabres game that they got the goalie goal scored on them. And oh man, Joey's eyes must have been even wider there, having watched the Nedeljkovic goal. Good catch there, Milo. Appreciate that. Let's see this one from Morena. I've missed any recent news about Eberle. Any words? So yeah, let's see. I'm making sure I got the report from Ron Francis correct here. I just don't want to misquote it here. But let's see. Eberle. Making sure I got this right. So Ron Francis did talk about Jordan Eberle, kind of gave an injury update about a week ago, and he said that Eberle is off crutches and he should hit the ice in a week or two. And then as far as a return, he's thinking more toward the end of February. So that's kind of the latest on Jordan Eberle there. Let's see. Rebecca, I missed the last game, so do I get to watch 2 Kraken wins today at least? Yeah. Earhead 6, still wish Wright and Kakko got more time on ice at just over 11 for Wright, way too low. Again, I'm with you on Shane Wright's ice time. I've been saying it. I think, one of the earlier people to say it, but the team has kind of decided otherwise. How much ice time did Kakko get? Yeah, 11:25 in this game, so kind of a low figure for that line. And they were the top line, though, at 5-on-5 play. I mean, there are a fair amount of penalties in this one. But the numbers do say that they did get outplayed in a way that they didn't in previous games. Probably their worst game of this little stretch. So I understand Bilesma maybe not going to them as much, even though they have been pretty good recently. Morena appreciating the Eberle news. Yeah, it is good news for Jordan Eberle for sure. Looks like he is on track to go. See. Done. And if they break Joey for future years, that's a bigger problem. I'm with you. I wouldn't handle it that way, given where they're at. But if you're still in go for it mode, I think logic just dictates that that's the only thing you can do. Kara, is it just me, or does Gruby play decently whenever Joey is not an option, but then goes back to being shaky when Joey is backing up? You know what? Like, I don't know that there's really like causation there, but I think there certainly is correlation, at least from what I remember, right? It does feel like when Joey is not an option or when there is an injury, really any Kraken goalie, when the other goalie is injured, it feels like the one healthy goalie really does a good job stepping up, whether it was Joey last year with the Grubauer injury, whether it was Martin Jones 2 years ago with the Grubauer injury, or whether it was even Gru this year with the Joey injury. It feels like if one Kraken goalie goes down, the other just kind of gets superpowers for a little bit to keep things going for the team. So that is an interesting phenomenon, though, that I hadn't really thought of until that chat there. So thank you for that, Kara. Milo, every time another goalie scores a goal, the brainworms tell me that the Jolie goal is imminent. I know. I think about it every time I see a goalie even attempt a goalie goal, that it's coming for Joey. It really is. I know goalie goals are rare, but like, he's got the talent. He can do it. He goes for it, and he's not shy about telling people that he's thinking about it too. I love that from him as well. Just needs the chance. And unfortunately, the dump-ins just didn't go his way tonight. But I think one of the problems is that other teams know that. They know that if he gets a chance, he's going to go for it. And so I think they do avoid kind of going to him with the puck, as to be fair, they should. You probably shouldn't give it right to Joey, because he's going to go for the empty net. And even if he misses it, probably get a good clear all the way down the ice, which you don't want it. So makes sense. The teams might avoid him a little bit too. Just felt like we had some closer calls in this one. Let's see, in the Viren, go for it equals buy at the deadline. Well, I don't think they're going to be buying rentals at the deadline, but I don't know, maybe look, Vegas, you look at Vegas and the way that they've operated, And they've done a lot of their business at the deadline, not just acquiring rentals, but guys, kind of for now and the future, whether it's like a Hannafin or a Hurdle or someone like that. One thing I am going to look into in the Armchair GM stream is thinking, okay, who could be out there that could fit for now and the future for the Kraken to go and get at the deadline? Of course, it's not going to help them for this year, but if there was a deal to be made, maybe just something to look at there. And of course, no rentals, nothing like that. But I do wonder what might be out there. So just a thought, Viren. Maybe that's a little crazy, but just a thought. Chip asking favorite goal tonight. I would have to pick Larson's, if not for Canner's long shot empty net goal. I mean, that was a good one. The McCann empty net goal. That's a lot harder than it looks. Even though the net is empty, the accuracy there was still on point. The Larson one was fun with the Thompson tip. As far as my favorite goal, though, I think I've got to go with the John Hayden goal, because it was so huge in that moment of the game. It was the first of two big response goals for the Kraken. And then I love the way John Hayden's been playing. And so I like that he gets rewarded for going to those areas and gets his first goal of the season. So I think that one's probably my favorite goal of the game. And even though it's, 8 goals prior to the end of things, right? It's very early on in the game. I think that one might be the most important, just given the way the momentum was going, because the Kraken had an awful start. They were not playing well at all. They give up the first goal, and I think they were lucky it took that long to give up the first goal. But then you've got John Hayden in that fourth line putting in so much work on that response shift to just completely bring the momentum back in the Kraken's favor, where they really had none. So I think that's going to be my favorite of the game. Milo, tangentially Kraken related. McDavid suspended 3 games. His first game back will be against us. Yikes. Yeah, he's going to be motivated for that one. That's for sure. And he'll be rested as well. So Kraken will have a challenge on their hands. I was wondering if that suspension might maybe go the 4 games, or the Kraken might avoid him, but I figured probably not. But we will be watching that game for our live game commentary on Patreon. So if you are a Terror of the Deep patron, you can watch that one along with us on YouTube, just like this. If you're watching this, you can watch the whole game with me, with Dylan, with the ECH community. It's going to be a real fun time and a big challenge for the Kraken, but I always enjoy watching McDavid play. So if you're thinking about giving our Patreon a try, you can try out the 1 week free trial at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey. And I think if you sign up soon, you can get the Armchair GM stream and the game and Dylan's prospect chat that we do every month. Super chat here from Jenna. My favorite goal was the John Hayden goal. So Jenna agreeing. Yeah, it was my favorite too. And again, just the way that he battles to get net front there, that is exactly the kind of grit that Hayden brings. And I love that for him too, because he's been putting in the work. And for a guy who, has traditionally been kind of a tweener up and down from the AHL to the NHL, these NHL stints mean a lot to him. And you never know when the last one's going to be, right? For a guy, in your career. You keep going up and down, especially as a guy who's more of a physical presence, who can be a fighter. You never know when you're going to get that last call or what goal might be your last. I still think Hayden's got a few more goals in him, but it's just a nice play to see him get rewarded, and just such a good guy too. Really easy to root for. And I know they miss him in CV, but good to see him doing things up here. Let's see. Milo, there were 2 goalie goal attempts the game after the Ned goal that I saw, not counting the Joey half attempt at the end of the last game. They all want it. I do think a lot of goalies do want that goal. I think there are some that probably, that maybe are on the lesser end of playing the puck, that feel like that maybe they couldn't get it or wouldn't do it. But a lot of them, I think any goalie you ask him would just love to have that as a career highlight. But Joey, I think, still is at the top of that list. I think he wants it the most, at least of any of the goalies that I've met or had the chance to talk to. That's for sure. Jeffrey, we were 4 seconds too early for the Filson final minute. Just missed it. Could have triggered both giveaways. I know they had the Alaska Airlines one. It was 32% off flights to Juneau, Alaska. I think it's the last 2 giveaways that they've had that have been for flights to Alaska. So if you're planning a trip to Alaska, now's the time. Interesting with both of those. Definitely more popular in the building than Texas when they had that before. That was a funny moment. Super chat here from Becca. Yay for fun games and yay for watching our forwards figure it out. Yeah, definitely a fun one tonight. And the forwards, I think, are starting to figure it out a little bit, especially Stevenson in that line. I think we're starting to see the chemistry there with Burakovsky, with Bjorkstrand, especially with Oliver Bjorkstrand. We're starting to see, I think he is doing a lot of work to elevate that line. And when we talk about Jaden Schwartz as the line fixer, I think Oliver Bjorkstrand has been the line fixer for the Kraken this season more than anybody else. And he's helping Chandler Stevenson out a lot. Glad to see the chemistry building there. And of course, the fourth line just doing their thing tonight as well. But yeah, good to see the forwards start to figure it out and produce a little bit more. Games like this against a team that's not very good defensively, doesn't have very good goaltending, those can be ones where your forwards can really build that confidence and that chemistry because they've got that extra time and space and they can get rewarded for making good plays. So hopefully they're able to kind of carry that momentum, carry that confidence forward to the next one. Let's see. Oh, on the goalie goals, Viren says Coco went for one yesterday, not very successfully. Well, I talked to him at Dev Camp and again during the preseason, and I know that he wants a goalie goal as well. He loves to play the puck, and he's not afraid to go for it either. I think he went for it at his first AHL game, which is just wild to me, the confidence, but he's a confident kid. I really enjoyed talking to him, and he wants a goalie goal as well. So we'll see who gets it first, him or Joey. I imagine both of them will get one at some point, at whatever level. Maybe not at the NHL level, but I got to think one of them. They'll both get one. Kendall, the first thing I thought about when Stevie scored was this chat and how everyone would react. I know, right? But I think everyone's willing to give credit where it's due there for Chandler Stevenson. Lindsay, come visit me in Alaska. I would love to go up to Alaska, one day with Dylan too. And I know we've got a place to stay if we ever want to go up there. So we got to make that happen at some point, probably during the summer, maybe not during the hockey season, but that would be fun. Because I still don't see Dylan out there. So interesting. It's a while, it seems like, taken with Dan and the players. Hopefully that's all good. I mean, I'm sure after a game like this probably is good. I got some good quotes to give us. I'm just making sure I haven't gotten a text from him or anything. Nope. And I see McDavid and Myers there on my phone. 3 games apiece, which makes sense, both with the cross checks to the face there. The team seems to be chatty today. Yeah, exactly. From Terrible Lotus. That's what I'm saying. Virginia, there'll be a deep dive tomorrow. Yes, there will. Yeah, I forgot to put out a tweet on that. Whoops, I was going to do that. But yes, of course, because it is an early start on a Monday, our normal Monday recording time is 10:30, so didn't exactly work today. So deep dive will be pushed off until tomorrow, but it'll be out then. So yeah, thank you for asking there, Virginia. Yeah, deep dive tomorrow. And I'm glad we waited too, because we got another nice game to talk about. See, yeah, everyone say they must have a lot to say in the media room. Yeah, I'm sure they do, Chip. And as I keep glancing over there, you can see that's what I'm looking for, is seeing if Dylan's come to join us. Although he should be joining us pretty soon. I do see him now, so he should be ready to go pretty soon, just in time. Let's see. How's the weather out there? It's freezing back in Louisiana. It's pretty cold. It's cold, dry, and sunny here. I believe it's in the mid to low to mid 30s here. Although I think it warmed up today. Actually, yeah, it got in the 40s. It's 43 right now and sunny here in Seattle, but it's not too bad. Rebecca, how's married life treating you, RJ? Pretty darn good. It's treating me great. I love my wife. We're doing great. And I like having this ring. I think it looks good. I haven't fully gotten used to it. I feel like I keep fidgeting with it all the time. But every time I do fidget with it or whatever, I just remember the wedding and how nice it was, and remember her. So it's nice. I really enjoy married life, although it's not all that different. We've been together for about 10 years. So, still doing our thing. We got a good thing going. Viren, I haven't looked at the deployment, but it's still nice to see. Oh yeah, the Burakovsky, Bjorkstrand, Stevenson combo. I do like it. Of all the lines that Stevenson's been on this season and all the combinations they've tried with him, I do think it is the best. And so far, I think they should stick with it. I love the heart there from Rebecca. Let's see, Rally Art Evo. It's currently 9 degrees here in Cincinnati. Man, cold a lot of places around the country right now. Yeah, it's getting chilly. No snow though here for us, and it seems like we won't get any. Unfortunately, I do like the snow. I feel like if it's going to be this cold, it might as well snow. Becca, is her ring a sapphire stone? Oh yeah, did she show it on on a previous post game? Yeah, it's a teal Montana Sapphire. Yeah, it is a Sapphire there, Becca. Let's see. Oh, there's Pear. Thanks for the meetup, guys. Great game. I'm so psyched. Yeah, no, thank you for joining us here, Pear. Nice to meet up with you. And I got to show everybody this awesome gift that you gave us. Look at this scarf. Pear gave us this awesome scarf for his home team in Trondheim in Norway. He's coming out from Norway to catch these few Kraken games and had this awesome gift for us. I'm going to put this on, Pear, because this is so cool for your home team in Trondheim. Dylan and I looked it up too. We were seeing kind of their record and how they've done. But love this gift. It's just so cool. So thank you, Pear. So nice to meet you. And we've got Dylan here. Oh, Miranda's Sapphire too. Nice. All right. So we have Dylan here ready to join us. Just waiting for the thumbs up for the go ahead from Dylan. All right. He's all good to go. All right. So let's bring him on. Hey, Dylan. So welcome on. It's 35 minutes in, a little bit longer than the last time, certainly after the losses. I'm guessing that's all for a good reason, though. Seems like the guys were in good spirits today.
Yeah, they were celebrating pretty good after this one. Not gonna lie, we took a minute to get into the locker room because everybody was having a good time. The music was still flowing and going pretty good there. That was good. And then Dan took a little while again. I'm assuming spending time breaking down everything that went right for the Kraken today, and that was really the messaging that we got from everybody, was just kind of all the stuff that went right for them. The big thing amongst the players, and we heard this from all three players that we got, Adam Larson, John Hayden, and Matty Beniers, was just that this is a group that right now is playing as a 5-man unit, playing as a cohesive unit. There's different language thrown around, but the bottom line is everybody feels like they're on the same page. And if you go back like a month ago, right, there was lots of talk of we need to get on the same page, right? The struggle that they've been having this season trying to, find that cohesive game, find that 5-unit game, just have everybody playing together and getting them going in that way. And so to hear them all say that, and that they are, they feel confident right now going out on the ice, they feel good with where the team is at and the play that they've had these last 3 games or so. And you know what? I mean, it checks out, right? Like, this team does look different. They do look a lot more in sync, and we're seeing them play a lot more of a complete game, kind of up and down the lineup. So it's really nice to hear that from them, because I know, how much of a struggle that can be for a group when that isn't there, and when you don't feel like everybody's on the same page, or everybody is trying to, do each other's jobs and do all of those things that we heard from them in sound bites earlier this season. To know that doesn't seem to be an issue anymore, I think is really good news.
Yeah, and especially for a team that has struggled to score this season and consistently, right? To put 6 up on the board and to feel like they're doing well offensively, I'm sure that kind of just helps everybody's confidence.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so, Maddie talked about that, the ability to, score the goal that he scored, and have the success there in the middle, and fill in, an important part of the power play by playing in the middle there, kind of being a bumper, and how impactful that can be for a team when you've got somebody who can get it done in that spot. And so he was really happy that he was able to score that goal there today for the group. You talked to Adam Larson, obviously happy to get on the board, and happy with how the team has performed. And Dan talking about how the defensemen have really just been the ones leading the way this year when they do have games like this, right? This is a team that definitely uses the contributions they can get from the blue line, whether it was, Jamie Alexiak getting one of the big response goals in this one. That was another big point Dan was happy about this one, was response goals. But whether it's Jamie Alexiak and Adam Larson getting on the board with goals of their own, or Riker Evans, who picked up a couple apples in this one, just the fact that they can get that offense from the back end, that those guys can help drive the play. They can help keep pucks in the zone longer, and make the right reads moving it down, feed the cycle, or feed good opportunities, find the offensive players of time and space. All of that good stuff was very much also at the forefront of what Coach Dan had to talk about in this one.
Yeah, that's a good message there. And Jenna saying #Hayden effect. John Hayden also had a good game in this one. He scores his first goal of the season. You guys did get to talk to him, right?
Yeah, we did. It was short. It was short and sweet, but he's excited to get one. Just excited with the way the team is playing. Again, reiterated the whole full unit, all 5 guys playing together, and all of that kind of stuff. And just to talk about him more broadly, right? Like I do feel like the team, or at least that fourth line, plays a little bit different. And Dan, was asked about the fourth line and the contribution and the fact that they are a fourth line that can score or at least generate those offensive chances for you. And it's nice when you can, pretty steadily rely on up and down your lineup, 12 guys that can go out there and generate those offensive chances, or at least play deep down in the offensive zone, keep possessions in there longer, helps out just the whole situation for everybody. And so I think with John Hayden specifically, obviously happy about the goal tonight. I do think that he brings a little extra something that maybe Ty doesn't. I think Ty is maybe more of a speedy player. He's more of a 200-foot up and down the ice kind of guy. But John Hayden can be that net front presence, that kind of pesky physical presence out front that really just annoys other teams, right? And he kind of changes what other teams have to account for with this fourth line. And I just don't know that they had anybody who kind of did that before, right? Fourth line, they've got Turbo. He can kind of do that same thing Cartier can, which is, get up and down the ice pretty quick, kind of, pressure a team in that way. But once you're kind of solidly in the offensive zone, a presence like John Hayden, I just don't know that there's anybody else in this lineup that can really do what he does.
Right. And you talk about getting in guys' faces, and I feel like that was something that Ty Cartier did pretty well last season. We haven't seen much from him this year. And so I hope that's something that Cartier, as he's sitting watching these games, watches John Hayden, the guy who's taken his spot, and sees some of the things that Hayden's done and maybe goes out there and tries to emulate them when he gets another chance. Let's see from Chip.
I was going to say, we'll see if that's what his game kind of turns into. I don't know that that's really Karts' game, but there might be an opening for another Turbo type player in the near or not, close-ish future, right? Whether it's come deadline time and there's a move on from Turbo, or even just over the offseason with his contract expiring. I do think it does benefit to have both kinds of players on the fourth line. It's just, I feel like that's kind of more so what Cartier's future probably is more of as a Brandon Tanev replacement rather than turning into that long-term net front guy.
Yeah, and I think in the run of play, I guess what I was talking about was just that edge that kind of is going to annoy other players on the other team, because we know that he's gotten under some star players' skin, Cartier, in the past. I just want to see more of that from him because it feels like a long time since we've seen it. Chip, I forgot to bring up that while Dunn's been a little less visible recently, he snubbed a breakaway without being penalized, which was pretty great. It was, and that was the shorthanded one, right, Dylan?
Yeah.
Where I was clipping that, and you said you weren't really sure whether to even call it a breakaway because Dunn did such a good job getting back and really interfering with it that he wasn't gone. He wasn't clean, right? It wasn't a clean breakaway for the Sabres player. And good work by Vince Dunn to get back. I believe it was Beck Malenstein there for the Sabres, who is in the top, I think, 1% of the NHL as far as just pure skating speed, but Dunn skated with him and got there.
He did, and he did a great job of just leaning on him, right? Like he didn't necessarily try to reach across because it was going to be a tough situation for him, right? Dunn kind of, it's on his offside and everything. He's going to have to really go across, and that's when you worry about a penalty, is if you really reach across with your stick there, you might end up getting a trip, a hook, something like that, right? You don't want to do that. I thought Vince Dunn played it really well, which was, I'm just going to kind of lean my body into him. And I'm just going to see if I can just steer him off course a little bit. And that's basically what ended up happening. Was by the time he got down in near Joey, he was already being pushed off to the side. Joey doesn't have to worry necessarily about a full-on breakaway style move, a full-on deke from outside there. He just has to focus on the one angle. And that, I think, is a large part because of what Vince Dunn was doing, which was just physically leaning his body into the other guy and just pushing him off course.
Exactly. And before Viren comes and corrects me here, he is in the top 5% of NHL player speed, not top 1% Malenstein. I was thinking of Ryan McLeod. Just wanted to cover myself there. But Kraken Queen just saw the replay of the Matty goal and those passes, fire emoji. So, yeah, I want to talk about that Matty Beniers power play goal and the pass on that, because the shot was really good. Just pinpoint shot right inside the bar. But I want to forget about the shot because the pass that he makes, and I don't want to take anything away from the Stevenson pass to find him, but the pass that Matty Beniers makes to Chandler Stevenson to set that up, the way that he looks inside, draws the defender right to him, and then the behind the back pass to Chandler Stevenson, which gives Stevenson all day, all kinds of time and space to go and find somebody. Matty curls back toward the net. Stevenson he's a good distributor, especially on the power play. He can take advantage of that time and space. He finds Matty Beniers, but that first pass, that felt special to me. And it felt like Matty Beniers really building confidence in a way that we haven't seen much.
Yeah, it was one, and Dan talked about the give and go nature of it, and just kind of, it says a lot about his skill and his ability to do, make a play like that. But I think, just going beyond it, right? This is what we talked about a little bit last game, on the post game, which is just he's confident, right? He's feeling confident. He's playing like a different player because of that confidence. He's going to attempt things that I just don't think he was attempting earlier in the season, and it's just because he feels so, solid in his ability right now, solid in his reads, solid in his decision making. Things are going well for him. A lot of the bad luck has kind of reversed for him. It's evened out, and it's kind of where it should be as far as what he's, generating for himself versus what's actually going in. And I think that just plays such a big role for a player, particularly a young player who is still, working to establish exactly what he's going to be in the National Hockey League, to have that confidence that he can, he trusts his decision making. You see something like that, he's going to go and try to make that pass. And he's going to then immediately curl to the inside and make himself available and hold off, other guys physically, to then be available for a return pass and then finish it. Right. Like, that is just plays that we were not seeing from him earlier in the year. And it's just because I think he's just so much more confident in where he's at right now.
Yeah, and we know that Matty has that talent, right? You don't become a second overall pick in the draft without having really high-end skill. I mean, we're seeing that even with the Capo Caco, right? Where we can see the flashes of skill that he has, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes a player doesn't always feel like that sort of ambitious pass is going to work out well for him when things aren't going well. But when they do feel that that can work, they're willing to try that stuff a little bit more. I just hope we see that continue with Matty. And as Jeffrey pointing out, yeah, he could have had a second goal on that laser of a shot that Levi got. I mean, credit to the goalie for making the save there, but Matty Beniers is generating stuff. I like the laughing emoji there from Viren
Yeah.
on the Malenstein thing.
And real quick, just because we should give Stevenson his due for having 2 points in this one, and I will say this, right? He's playing well as of late. In his last 10 games, Chandler Stevenson does have 10 points, 9 of which are at even strength. I know that is, it's a big change from what he was producing earlier in the year. The big stat, though, for me, out of all that, beyond the shooting percentage, which is at 38%, so we'll see how sustainable that is. What I do find interesting, though, and this is kind of maybe still speaks to the defensive struggles when that line is out there, is 9 even strength points for Chandler Stevenson in the last 10 games. He's a +1. So that's a little tough there, and I think it tells a little bit of the story. But credit where credit is due. This is not a team that can produce points, right? Like, these are not a bunch of players that they hang their hat on producing points, right? This is a team that gets it done via depth instead. And Chandler Stevenson is right now, has been a point per game player, and there's just not really a lot of guys on this group that can say that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. He is producing, and I'm sorry, Dylan. I did bring up that stat a little bit earlier in the
Okay.
post game. I should have left it
Coming
for you
up.
because you're the one who found it and saw it. But yeah, I did bring that up. So there's some good, some bad, but I think the good is certainly outweighing the bad at this point right now in this little stretch. And Jason saying it makes me throw up a little in my mouth, but Stevenson is stringing together some games where I don't absolutely hate him. I think that's kind of, at least right now, where the naysayers are at.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was one of those things where obviously he's got some good shooting luck right now, and then that's that happens to everybody at different points throughout a season, or you at least hope it does if you're out there. I think the big thing is also, like I just said, it's the fact that he's producing at 5-on-5 instead of just on the power play, and that's something that I'm sure if we were to dug into the numbers a little bit more, we could have seen was going to come. Just like with Matty Beniers, getting the goals that he's getting now, and kind of the positive regression that he's getting from a shooting percentage standpoint. I'm sure if we were to dug into the numbers, we would have seen that 5-on-5 production was going to come for Chandler Stevenson, and it's just that he's kind of getting it right now. Maybe it's at a little bit of a higher rate than what we're going to see the rest of the way, but still, it is something there.
Yeah, definitely. And as Jeffrey says, we should all be rooting for Chandler to get better. Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? This is very important to the Kraken organization that he works out at least somewhat. And then Zoe asking who got the belt. Do you know, Dylan?
I do not know. It was gone by the time we were in there, so I don't know. Somebody will have to check social media.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good at taking it away, but sometimes they do leave it out and we can catch a glimpse, but not all the time. But
Yeah.
good question there, Zoe. We'll find out soon enough. Let's see. And Christian, Stevie just has to keep doing what he's doing. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just associate that quote with him forever. But when he's playing like this, right? Unironically, he's got to keep doing what he's doing. So I think we can all have fun with that,
Mhm.
for the good or the bad. And then ask, so when is Berkey gonna get scratched? I mean, not when the line is playing well like this with Stevenson, Burakovsky, and Bjorkstrand. Dylan, I don't know if you looked this up. Care to guess what their expected goal share was in this game, according to Money Puck?
No, I honestly, with that line, it could be anywhere, and I would believe it.
Right, 89.2%.
All right, there you go. See,
Not
I didn't.
bad.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. And, look, I think with Berkey, a lot of it is what we just talked about with Maddie, right? Berkey has struggled this season, and I think it's just affected his confidence. And if you're going to be a playmaker, particularly a playmaker from the wing, the way that Andre Burakovsky is, if you don't feel confident in your split second reads and you're not sending some of those pucks, it can be very difficult to find yourself, to get point production for yourself, right? Like that is a really tough spot because you're already fairly limited just based on your position for your play style as a playmaking winger, as far as the options that you're going to be seeing on different bases and everything. I just think that that's one where right now, because so many things, he's tried so many things, none of them have really been working for him. He's just not playing with that confidence that we're seeing like Matty Beniers play with. It's just brutal for him as far as trying to find that production.
Yeah, I agree. And I still think he maybe doesn't trust his instincts. When we talked about the confidence with Matty Beniers, we're kind of seeing the opposite side of that with Andre Burakovsky still, to an extent, certainly when he has the puck in big situations. Super chat here from Light. While time on ice is important, so is deployment. In 2 of the last 4 games, Dan has sent out Shane after the game has been tied to go and get the lead, talking about the Pittsburgh game. And then today, Dan very clearly trusts Shane a lot. And I know there is that intentionality about the situations that they send him in, and they are kind of throwing him a bone as far as giving him some key situations to be on the ice. Sometimes I do think
Yeah.
they're overall pretty limited, but there are some situations where Dan will put Shane out there for big moments in a game. I would like to see more, and maybe I'm just kind of hard to please in that respect. But yeah, it's not like he's just giving him, a fourth line role and only and massively sheltering him all the time. He will pick and choose his moments to kind of try and give Shane an opportunity, I would say.
Yes, and he did talk about that line because he was asked about Jared McCann picking up a goal and getting 3 points today, and kind of how tough it's been on Jared McCann to kind of get production. I know we haven't talked about it a lot, but it's been a brutal stretch for Canner as far as just getting on the board any which way. And he talked about that line. This was after talking about obviously Matty Beniers' goal on the power play, talking about the Chandler Stevenson line and what they were able to do today. And Dan, I don't have the exact quote on, in front of me, but he talked about again how important it is to have all of these lines that you can trust in multiple different situations, and how he feels like that line right now of Jared McCann working with Shane Wright, working with Ellie Tolvanen, they just they have a little something that is different. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to remember the quote offhand and I can't, so I apologize for that. I can try to find it on my phone, but the idea that I was basically getting was, it sounded very similar to me as when like a manager is talking about a pitcher and their ability to throw like a really well timed changeup, and just like
Hmm.
because of the way that they kind of can produce, or the style that they're going to play, and the ability to put them out there in those situations, just it's just like that little bit different. They're very solid. They play a very solid game. Talked about how it's kind of like a little bit more of a, maybe like a grinder mindset, or something like
Yeah.
that. But it very much kind of reminded me of, oh, this is a line that I can throw out after a goal or after something like that happens, and it's they're not necessarily going to do what the other team's expecting, right? If you get a lead, you might expect to throw out your top defensive line. Well, this is they're a good defensive line, but they're not like the Matty Beniers line, right? And so it's kind of something where you can throw out something that's just going to be a tiny bit different. I'll try to find it here and
Yeah, go ahead. I can
my
I
notes.
can hold it down until the time being. But light adding to that also, Matty Benier. I just think it's important to add nuance to the conversation, as some have just jumped to accusing Dan and Ron of not trusting Shane or believing in him. And yeah, I wouldn't go as far as say they don't trust him or believe in him. I do think they have an intentional plan for how they want to address his development. I may not agree with it, but I understand it, and I don't think it comes out of a place of mistrust. I just think that they believe that by sheltering him to the extent that they do, which again is not completely 100% of the time, but by sheltering him to the extent that they do, they keep his confidence high, and having his confidence high is going to be more important than the opportunity to be in situations where you can make mistakes and get more reps and learn from those and all that stuff. They think that outweighs the other, right? And so that's, I think, the calculation that they're making. Personally, I am generally in favor of kind of taking the training wheels off and letting a player sink or swim. And yes, they're going to make mistakes, but they're going to learn from those mistakes. And I think that's better for development. But again, they're in an NHL front office. I certainly am not. So, maybe they know better.
Yeah, it's that he said that they rounded off with Shane's line, which
Okay.
is kind of like an interesting turn of phrase, because he was asked about Jared McCann. This was all when he was asked about Jared McCann, and he talked about Jared's been good depth scorer this year and stuff, a little bit more so than being the lead guy for them. And then he talked about what Matty's line has done recently, what Chandler Stevenson's line is starting to do now for them, and then how things get rounded off with Ryder's line and with Jared there.
Interesting. Yeah, it's
So
interesting. Thank you for bringing that up.
it's a little bit different. Like I said, that's not normally what you would hear a coach say about a line. And then he had the quote about talking about how they feel like they're 12 men deep right now up front, and how any of those lines can produce at any given time, and they all kind of do different things. But I just thought that really struck me, because that's just a very different way of talking about a line. And like I said, it reminded me of when managers or in other sports, they talk about players that are maybe going to go out there and do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good quote. And then we have Milo here. Charles from Circling Seattle Sports said Mahura belt. So good for Josh Mahura getting the belt there, especially given that I'm sure there's no second place for that belt. But if there was last game, maybe Joey's there too, but that hit from Mahura, I think, probably would have got second place had Jaden Schwartz not gotten the hat trick and all that. So good to see him get the belt. Also, the stats back it up as well. 88% expected goal share for Alexiak Mahura when those two were on the ice. Far and away the best of any of the Kraken D pairs tonight. So another solid game for Josh Mahura, and I think belt well deserved.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like they did a really good job of keeping pucks in the offensive zone. It just felt like everything was happening in Buffalo's end of the ice when they were out there. And it wasn't necessarily because they did anything flashy. Obviously, the Big Rig gets the goal that he gets, and that's, important, and that is something. But there was a lot of what I talk about with, solid defensemen, where it's you're just kind of not really noticing them when they're out there. But that can be a good thing. It means nothing bad is happening. Generally means maybe you're then watching the forwards because they're doing a lot of work. And like I said, tonight, it just felt like puck was always in the offensive zone when those two were out over the boards.
Yeah, so a good game for those two, and it's nice to have a third pair that you can trust. And then speaking of Charles, who reported that, Becca asking, wasn't it Dylan or RJ who convinced Charles to go by Charles singular? I believe, because I was there when it happened, I believe it was Darren Brown from Sound of Hockey who kind of first floated it, and it became a thing.
Yeah, we did our part to make it stick, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't think we can take credit for it.
Yeah, but I think Darren was the one who first floated it, saying that he just kind of looks like a Charles rather than a Charles. I think I brought who's the golfer? Charles Schwartzel?
Only you would know a name like that.
Yep, but I think Darren referenced. Well, no, I think Darren knew it. Darren referenced the golfer Charles Schwartzel, so that's the Charles origin story. But it did stick, and yeah, we love our buddy Charles, even if you give him a hard time sometimes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We gave him a reprieve. We threw you in between us today.
That's true. Yeah, did put me in between you and him, so I was able to kind of be a buffer today just a little bit. So I think that was for the best, given that it was not the first sporting event that he had covered today. I don't even know if it was the second, but I know he was down at the Rain game before this. The guy just works so hard.
Might not be his last either. I'm would not surprise me to see some tweets about the college football championship game either.
Yeah. I know, right? Yeah. So if you're not already, follow Circling Seattle Sports. If he covers every single Seattle sports team, something. I mean, I cannot even imagine doing that. We're busy enough with the Kraken. So as we kind of hit the hour mark here, last call in chat before we get going. If there's anything else you want to talk about, let us know. Oh yeah, it's okay. Here, let me get the banner ready.
I was gonna say it's lemon lime Gatorade time, baby. I don't know if it happened earlier or not, but I've been standing here holding it the whole time, and I can't wait anymore. I need it now.
Yeah, no, I don't think Gregory was in here earlier with one of those. Yeah, unfortunately, I think Gregory.
Weird
I mean,
time.
we know he's got a lot going on. I'm sure.
Weird time right now, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been staring at me. I gotta have it, whether the super chats give it or not. I just feel like it's tradition.
Yeah, no, definitely have to do it for sure. Thank you for reminding me to do that. And of course, got to throw that graphic out there because it's just awesome.
Yep.
And then this from Edward, which I had never thought of it to this level here. Is that an actual thing, making the name singular, not just shortening it? If so, brilliant subversion of the name pluralization trend in hockey nicknames. I had never even thought of that as subversive, but thank you, Edward.
That's actually really good. That's a really good point. That is something I think we're gonna have to cook with that a little bit, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I know there have been some media scrums that we've been in, just kind of waiting on people, right? And we were kind of going over what everyone's hockey nickname would be. So that's always a fun time. Yeah, almost ended the stream with the lemon lime. Yep. So I think before we go, because that's I don't see too much else in chat here. Before we go, just want to talk about the next game. They got the Washington Capitals coming up on Thursday. Dylan, what's the key to beating the Caps?
I don't know what's the key to the Caps being like the best team in the NHL this season, right? Like, I go figure, right? Other than they just have really solid fundamentals. I
can need to go and buy out Puckpedia.
Yeah, basically. Geez, cap wages, something, I don't know. Look, they've been playing fantastic all this year, up and down the lineup. Obviously, there's the big names that you can you'll do better if you keep Alex Ovechkin off the board, if you keep Jacob Chikrin from the blue line off the board this year. I believe he's got 15 goals this season, which would tie him for the team lead on the Kraken, right? So there's things that you can do to maybe like help out the situation here. But the bottom line is they're going to give you a full, a full team effort. They are rolling 4 lines right now. Even if those bottom 6 lines aren't necessarily scoring too much, they are generating chances, or at the very least, they're keeping other teams from generating chances. It's just one of those teams where I don't know that there's like one thing that you can really stop them from doing right now, and it would make that much of a difference because you just look up and down their lineup at any different metric or analytic, and they're just great.
Yeah, they are good top to bottom, and I'll be interested to see them in this building this season, this version of the
Carberry from being able to get into the building so he can't coach them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, those are the kind of things you got to consider, right? But I think
creative.
The closest thing we've seen, though, is just bring the effort you brought against the LA Kings. And I think that'll be a good start, and you'll be in the game at least. So that's I guess just basically what I would say as far as how to beat them. But man, they're so good. And I know you're excited to see Ovechkin for the first time live. So that's going to be good. So you just got to, roll stick with the theme of response goals from tonight. When Ovechkin inevitably scores, go out and get a response goal right away.
Exactly. And how cool is that, by the way, just to see the Kraken play that way today and get those response goals? It's just so much fun to be on the other side of it and to believe in this group. And I know, it's just Buffalo. I'm sure you've talked plenty about that because you were talking a lot about it. I
mentioned it once at the beginning and I dropped it.
But it's nice to see that this group is doing that because that's again another example of this team is feeling it. They have that confidence, they have that belief in themselves, whether that's the belief in the full 5-unit effort out there on the ice, or it's that more kind of personal confidence that they've been building as they've been finding success working on the things that they've needed to work on over the course of the year. I feel like response goals can only happen for a group or for individuals that have that confidence and are actually, feeling good about things, to be able to come out there after the other team scores and to be able to respond with something of your own. That's not something that, players who are unsure of themselves or groups that are trying to do too much and cover each other's backs. That's not what those groups do, right? This only comes from groups that are confident and that they're feeling it and have that swagger about them. So I think those response goals, it says a lot about how the team and how all the individuals are feeling right now.
Well said. I think it's really important what you follow something up with, right? And of course, with the Kraken game being early today, you know what you could follow it up with? Going to Queen Anne Beer Hall. That is the ultimate response goal,
Yeah.
I think, to this game. And it's, a back-to-back good response goal, right? I know Allison and Lucan likes to talk about those. You respond to your own goal. Go do the response goal, go to Queen Anne Beer Hall, enjoy the rest of your day. There's still plenty of day left, Dylan. So everyone go to Queen Anne Beer Hall if you
If you
perfect
can
place
get in, because
if you can get it. I know
the
it
national
was so
championship
busy.
game started 15 minutes ago. I was there for the Apple Cup, and they were holding people at the door. I got to imagine it's probably pretty busy.
That's true. Actually, yeah, there might be a wait outside. I mean, heck, you can even look through the window at the TVs while you're waiting
It's
there.
worth it,
But you're
though.
right, it's probably packed right now. But it is worth it. Go give it
Yeah.
a try. See if you can get in. Let us know. And yeah, we'll see everybody Thursday after the game against the Washington Capitals.